You're listening to the 12 Days of Crusademas 2023, brought to you by the Longbox Crusade.
Six Robins Hooding.
Hello and welcome to the 6th day of the 12 Days of Crusademas for 2023, brought to you by the Longbox Crusade. The 12 Days of Crusademas is our gift to the podcast community to celebrate the holiday season. And we're celebrating this joyous season by sharing with you some comic book titles that may have gotten by you in the past. Each day of the 12 Days of Crusademas, we'll bring you a hidden gem of a comic series, brought to you either by one of our holly jolly co-hosts or one of our podcast celebrity guests, until we get all the way to December 25th, Christmas Day. But I'm your host for this 6th day of Crusademas, Jason Albrecht, aka the Christmas Weasel, aka the guy that steals from the Sky Striker rich like my brother and gives to the Sky Striker poor like myself. And along with me here are three kind of wise-ish men, somewhat. All right, we'll say wise men. Joining me for today's unwrapping, and of course, we have to start with my friend and the founder of the Longbox Crusade, Mr. Pat, DJ Cristado Sampson. Merry Christmas, Pat. How are you today?
Ho, 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 ho. Merry Christmas to you, Jason. Merry Christmas to you, everybody here. It's so nice to see everybody around the fireplace. Everybody's got cocoa in hand. I'm going to hand out some cookies in a little bit. We're going to have some fun. But me and Jared are having this joke-a-thon, joke-off that we have going on here. So I want to get my joke in first. And, you know, I've been counting it.
That's winning. All the time we have for you, Pat. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Go ahead. Regale us with your joke.
Yeah, you know, because I've been tracking this. I've been winning the jokes. Just like on Rookie Agents, I'm coming out ahead. And always going to win this. So
yeah, just like that. Just like that.
You know, I got to rub that in. I earned it. That's what I do.
So you got a joke or what?
Yes, I do. So this is the 6th day of Crusademas, and that means 6 geese a lane. And so I have a joke for you about geese. So it goes like this. What do you call a goose that lays a golden egg?
I don't know.
A goose that hits the jackpot because it laid a golden egg. All right, there's another one for you.
I'm feeling confident on this round.
Well, with that, let me just roll this over to my brother from my actual mother, Jared Albrecht, a.k.a. Death Probe. Merry Christmas, Death Probe, and how are you this holiday season?
Oh, man. Holiday season, it can be rough. It's, you know, statistically, depression is at its highest. So I purchased some antidepressants.
Okay.
Somebody stole them.
Oh, no.
So wherever that person is, I hope they're happy.
Oh, boy.
That's not even my Christmas joke. That's the lead-in.
Oh, God.
Oh, good, because I don't understand it.
Antidepressants.
I get it.
Oh.
All
okay,
right.
but here's the actual joke. All right. It's Christmas time. Just got back from a ski trip. It's the time to do that. Started off good, but it went downhill real fast.
What happened?
I liked your first one better.
All right. I hope he's happy.
All right. Well, let's just keep this thing moving right along here. Just ride this airplane.
Nobody's listening anymore. It doesn't matter.
You're probably right. But just in case somebody is still listening, let's introduce my good friend Delvin, the Dark Web Williams. Happy holidays, Delvin. How are you this fine season?
Happy holidays to you too, Jason. And I bought presents for everyone, this being the 6th day. Jason, here is an authentic Sky Striker for you, right here. And Jared, here is every Castlevania game that's ever been invented. Like, I know this is what you want. And Pat, I got you tickets to see Sister Christian. Because I know that they bailed on you that time and it hurt you that much.
It did,
yeah. In the spirit, by the way, of this Crusademas, I robbed an Amazon and I gave it to you guys. So I'm gonna lay low for a little bit. I might be one.
That's all right. I'll allow it, man. I'm still taking the Sky Striker.
If I'm gonna do that bid, man, so I can look off at the skies like at least Jason's happy.
All right. Well, let me just take a look here, see if he's still hanging around. But we had a guest lined up here today, and joining us today around the fireplace, and he is the keeper of all Robin Hood knowledge. Nobody likes a show off, but man, I got to say that Mr. Alan Wright, you are the right stuff when it comes to all things Robin Hood. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here for Christmas.
And I noticed that you have a little gift in that stocking that you're holding there.
Yeah.
What did you bring us today?
Well, as you heard in the singing intro, 6 Robins Hooding. And so the gift that I'm bringing is... Oh, wait a minute. Oh, this is the wrong one. This is for the Fire and Water Network. Sorry, hats and tights.
We've never heard of them. I don't know.
This is like the equivalent of giving socks in Sherwood Forest.
I would take them, but I'm 6 sizes larger than Shag, so this tight.
Your presence over here. From 1957, it's Robin Hood Tales, number 12. And from DC Comics, or National Comics as it was known back then. What can I say about it? It actually did not start at DC Comics. It was originally a quality comic for the first 6 issues. And DC bought out the quality comics and characters. You probably know Plastic Man, though they didn't actually publish him for another decade. But they carried on Black Hawk, GI Combat, Heartthrobs, and Robin Hood Tales. So DC was already doing Robin Hood in Brave and the Bold, where Joe Kubert and Russ Heath were drawing him. And when they went over to Robin Hood Tales, the main artists were Ross Andrew and Mike Esposito.
We've heard of them.
Yeah.
Esposito!
Of course, went on to, as you covered in your spin-off show, Spider-Man especially, but they were doing Wonder Woman at the same time, and just really dynamic art. And some of these stories were reprinted in the 70s in DC Special, teamed up with new Three Musketeers stories. But they aren't the only Robin Hood comics from the 50s. There was a whole bunch, like Magazine Enterprises, which later got the license to do the Richard Green series with photo covers. So, and Charlton did one. Dell Comics did the adaptation of the 1952 movie, and they kept reprinting it for like the whole decade. But I find like the DC comic is special and fun and just lively. And there's something else you might have noticed on these various covers. Most of them, other than the Dell, all have this little symbol here, the Comics Code Authority. And that was introduced about a year before the huge boom of Robin Hood comics. Well, one of the first provisions of the code is, crime shall never be presented in such a way as to create sympathy for the criminal, to promote distrust of the forces of law and justice, or to inspire others with the desire to imitate criminals.
Uh-oh.
And yet all these publishers were doing Robin Hood. And a Robin Hood who was mostly clean-shaven and wearing orange, surprisingly, orange or red, very consistently across the publishers. I actually researched this for an academic conference, the 1950s Robin Hoods, published in a book, Bandit Territories, edited by Helen Phillips, called, the article is called Begone Knave, Robberies Out of Fashion Hereabouts, which is an actual quote from one of the comics, and kind of the tone of Robin Hood in the 1950s. The main reasons I love this book, well, really, a lot of it's the art. I find that Andrew and Esposito are just dynamic and fun. I think DC sort of had the best handle on doing Robin Hood in comic book forms. He slots very well into that Silver Age, proto-Silver Age superhero vibe that you would get, as I think some of the Western heroes from DC did too. very solid, more fantastical than the quality run was, which was a little more staid and traditional. Good, but also I think the stories were a little less wordy. So have any of you read any Robin Hood Tales comics before? Delvin?
No, Alan, I don't believe that I've ever read a Robin Hood tale via comic book form.
Jared?
No, I haven't. If I was presented with them, I sure would read them.
Jason?
First, I gotta say that I hope that Delvin appreciates my restraint. I saw him looking at me when you said Blackhawk, and I held it in. So
Not to worry, Jared texted me.
I
Okay.
literally texted.
I saw you all look nervously, but I was disciplined, fellas. Disciplined. To answer your question, Alan, no, I have never read a Robin Hood comic before this issue.
And Pat?
No, I haven't read one of these before either.
Quick summary of the issue as much as you can, because like most comics in the 50s, it was an anthology with multiple stories and also text and educational features. So the three main comic book stories start with The Falcon Master by Ed Herron. He wrote for Batman, and he also wrote Green Arrow's Island origin story, the one that's used in the Arrow TV series and everything from 1959 onward. So The Falcon Master, where Prince John enlists a Falcon Master who's trained his hawks to catch arrows because they go after the feathers. And Robin Hood figures this out and switches the fletchings on his arrows to bark so the hawks don't get them. But the Falcon Master has another ploy up his sleeve, which is a couple of giant-sized hawks that are like the size, as Robin Hood says, of dragons. But he's able to get free, and all the hawks in the air actually create a diversion so they can rescue the merry men. And just to say, actually, in one of the Robin Hood ballads, Friar Tuck's dogs could catch Robin Hood's arrows. So it's not as far out of the tradition as you would think. And the second story, also by Ed Herron, is, again, not, kind of a more fantastical version of a ballad. The Masked Marvel of Sherwood Forest has the archery contest. And Robin Hood appears to lose to someone in a purple and green superhero costume, essentially, with mask and cape. And Prince John enlists this new stranger to help him, though the Sheriff of Nottingham is suspicious. And it turns out eventually that actually the Robin Hood at the archery contest wasn't Robin Hood. It was Will Scarlet in disguise. And Robin Hood is the Masked Marvel, who the sheriff unmasks, but not before they're able to retrieve King Richard's ransom. And this also, besides the archery contest ballads, plays with the ballads Robin Hood and the Potter and Robin Hood the Butcher, where Robin dresses up and tricks the sheriff, saying he's a friend of Robin Hood and he can teach the sheriff all his tricks. So again, tradition done in a more comic book fantastical way. And the third story is by Bill Finger, the co-creator of Batman. And that's the Town Crier of Peril, which is something that I think Robin Hood Tales does a lot, which is Robin committing to the bit, having a sort of thing he has to do and he sticks with it. In this case, he becomes a town crier, announcing news of his robberies beforehand, except for the final one where he actually commits the crime first, robbing Prince John's mint. And when Prince John goes to arrest the town crier, it's an I am Spartacus moment as several people dressed as Robin Hood come out and announce the news. Fun story, that one. And that's my coverage of the issue. So, what did you guys think of the issue? Jason?
I really liked it. When I read the first story, I was a little bit nervous because I was like, man, I think Robin got some bad mushrooms or something. Because he's like, man, there's giant hawks after me and they're like the size of dragons. And his boy's just trying to get him to come down, So that first one, I was like, oh, this could be a long issue. Second story I liked a lot better. The Masked Archer was really cool. And it showed the skill of Robin Hood, the loyalty of his men, showed his cunning, his trickery. So that was a lot of fun. And the third story, I think the Bill Finger one was my favorite. That I am Spartacus moment at the end was really poignant because it showed again his skill. And it was kind of cool because, they killed all those dudes. That meant, just off panel because it's like a few minutes later, they're just walking out with all the money. Delvin just did the thumb across the throat thing. And, that's what happened. But that was cool. And I think that was the one that had the Blue Boar Inn sign.
Yes.
I'm just getting familiar with the show. So that was really cool. And how they used that.
I thought you guys would catch the Blue Boar Inn sign. So, Pat, and I have a note to ask you what you think of the inking, especially on this issue.
Who's the inker?
Well, it's Mike. Do you want to say the last name for us?
Is it Mike? Boy, fun. I love it when we see Mike in here. And boy, he's done a lot of stuff that you really didn't think he did. But that's really interesting to see. Like Jason, when I started to read this, I'm like, I don't know what I'm getting into because I'm always a little iffy with these older ones. Just because one, either they can be super long and wordy in that. But these little short stories, they weren't as bad as what I would thought they were going to be. I like that they were just little short vignettes. Reminds me of kind of what we're doing right now, watching the Robin Hood story. So when I see this guy, I kind of see character Robin, who's playing Robin right now, in what we're watching in Robin Hood, The Adventures of Robin Hood right now. And so I kind of picture him in this, but these are just more wacky stories going on. Especially the first one. Man, was that fucking crazy. Am I right?
Yeah. No, I mean, that's Sinbad, really. But
yeah, that's a good example. That kind of reminded me of like something Sinbad would do. And all of a sudden he's flying around on these falcons, and they're just kind of tossing him around. And he's letting it happen to him. But they're just falcing around with him, and just it's like, what are you gonna do? Drop him or what? I didn't know.
The whole series is really Robin Hood versus the animal kingdom. I mean, it's tigers and a panther and these hawks, and it seems he's always fighting bizarre animals in the DC run, which I love in a way, because I love that sort of going big. And they always say when they adapt something, we can have the infinite budget of comics, but it often doesn't work. And I feel that DC is that alchemy that makes it work.
I think that's a good thing, that they actually feels like they go a little bit big and a little off in different directions here for all these little stories, but it works. And you can tell that they're having fun with it. And Robin is always going to find a way to win. In the second story, it's another Robin Hood disguise fake out, but a fun tale too. Because I'm like, okay, wait a minute, is that Robin? It's got to be Robin. But I'm like, well, if he shot the arrow in the beginning, how could the other guy shoot better than him? But Will Scarlet's got to be pretty good,
Yeah. I love the art of Andrew and Esposito, because I think they have wonderful wah expressions.
Yes. Yeah.
Especially.
I think they use the panels and the pages very well. They weren't like really off with some of the panels. They tried to either stick to a 9 grid, or sometimes, it was, they'd make a long one or some wide ones or some short ones. I think it really turned out really good. And for the third story, Jason stole my thunder with the Blue Boar. I'm like, oh, I know that one. I was like, man, that's really cool to see that kind of play into the rest of Robin Hood as we're learning the lore on that one as well, too. I liked it. So very good read along with this. And
Jared, what did you think?
I didn't read it, but if I had, I probably would think it was good. This discussion sounds amazing. All right, the bid is done. Out of all of us, who's going to like the zany giant bird story the most?
That would be you, Jared.
That would be me.
Oh, wait.
I was like, this zany giant bird story is ridiculous, but I kind of like it. And then the second one was my favorite, and I am an absolute moron because I was like, who is this guy? Even Pat over there, who was so easily duped.
I was
on the scent.
Yeah.
I have to say, because I thought, oh, that's Robin Hood that's in the mask. But when they showed Robin Hood and the guy in the mask in the same place, I was like, oh, I don't know who this is. So they got me with the double switch.
Exactly. So that one I really liked because they duped me. And then the third one was also quite good as well. And again, Andrew and Esposito, can't miss. This is great stuff. I like the way it was broken up. There was 2 pages in there of actual prose. And I literally did not read that. So I'm going to have to ask Alan what that was about.
Yeah, I kind of dozed off in the
okay, so nobody read it.
I read it. I can tell you what it's about.
Oh, for real? Is it? Have you gone yet? Or
I've gone.
You went first.
Yeah, I went first.
Well, tell us what it's about, Jason. 30 seconds. Let's go.
It's about the quest to become a knight. It tells how a boy is at like 8 years old, gets taken into the school, and then he's basically a servant, and then he grows up and is training on wooden swords, and then when he becomes of age, he takes the vow, and it tells all the steps of the ceremony of becoming a knight.
Or you get a super technologically advanced car.
That's a Knight Rider.
Oh, okay. I got confused. Also, I appreciate someone doing the homework on that. Thank you, Jason. But yeah, no, overall, it was
only because cool. I was hosting. That's all.
Pretty cool read, Alan, and I appreciate you bringing it.
And Delman, what do you think?
I think all 3 of the vignettes had one common theme, and that's Prince John is a hater of the highest caliber. Like he would be a much more efficient bad guy if he weren't such a hater. And so it was almost like every story, it's like, okay, I sort of have a pretty good plan A. And then Robin Hood's like, haha, you're a hater. I'll just wait until you hate your way into making a mistake. And then he does. And then Robin Hood laughs at him and steals more from him. So, I mean, that was pleasant enough in itself. I do like the Sheriff of Nottingham in the Masked Hero story was finally like, no, I smell a rat here. Just immediately just pulls off the hood like, I am not playing this game. You're Robin Hood. You're not going to fool me. And like, so I appreciate the sheriff having some cunning on that because it balanced out Prince John just being the absolute hater that he is. And it shows the just awesome concept. It's a very simple concept that Robin Hood has. But it works very, very well. I could see how like something like this would be delightful for kids to read back in the 50s, but I could also see some parents picking it up and looking at it and saying, you know what, these are some pretty clever stories. It reminded me of like one of the comic series or the cartoons that I would read in the Sunday comics. I could see like each one of those stories being broken down into like 6, 7, 8 different days inside of a national publication some years ago. That's what it reminded me of.
There is that kind of like the Sunday strip sort of too feel, I think, as well in them. I guess now it's time to rate your interest in the series using the official Crusademas candy cane scale. So on a scale of 1 to 12 candy canes, 12 being extremely interested and 1 having no interest at all, how many candy canes would you rate your interest in pursuing more issues of Robin Hood tales? Jason?
Well, using the scale of humor, heart, spectacle, and art, I gave the humor a 2. I thought there was plenty of little chuckles throughout the book. Heart, it's Robin Hood, gets the full 3 in the story. Spectacle, shooting down the boar sign and taking out those cards with the blue boar sign. That's a 3 for me right there all day. Oh man, the art in this was really, really good and just did such a great job telling the story. Having a thought too about when you mentioned the Comics Code Authority, another common theme that as the fellows were talking that I remembered through here, he's always stealing from Prince John, but he's always rescuing something that Prince John stole from King Richard. So maybe that's how they got it around the CCA.
It's very common throughout all the comics. There's one, and I think it's in earlier Robin Hood tales, where one of the Normans says, unless we stop Robin Hood, we'll never be able to keep what we steal.
Gotcha.
And it's very much like, I'm not the thief, you're the thieves. But that's why like King Richard and Prince John kind of became the default time period for the legend, is because you could have a rebel who's still not completely a rebel because there's an authority that's just not around that he does respect.
Yep. That's what I was picking that up as the fellows were talking and remembering that. But anyway, I took us off on a little detour there. So that's 11 candy canes. And because of your knowledge and your enthusiasm and your love of all things Robin Hood, I'm going to throw out the full 12.
Wow, thank you. So, Delvin, how many candy canes from you?
Obviously less than 12 because it's me and clearly, I am the Prince John of this. I strongly have to reevaluate my priorities in life. I'm at a 10. I did enjoy it, and it can't get any less than a 10 because it had Andrew and Esposito, which somehow got right past me because it's like, well, let me read this book, let me read it, let me read the stories. And I did enjoy the stories and didn't take enough time to look at the artwork. So like that Andrew and Esposito's in there makes it a surefire winner automatically. So great read.
Yeah, thanks. Pat, what do you think?
I'm with Delvin in the camp of 10. I really enjoyed it, thought it was fun. I think this would be good books to, if I saw them in long boxes, I would make sure I would rob them and then I would give them out to kids to read. Like this would be something you could leave on your coffee table or around for short little stories to read, or you'd find in like a dentist or a doctor's office, little quick reads while you're waiting, and they're really fun to read. So if I find them out there in the wild, I will rescue them and then give them away.
Thanks. And Jared?
That's not going to be welcome at convention halls for much longer if he keeps stealing comics. When I went into this, I was wrestling with a 10 or maybe an 11. And then while we were chatting, I actually got on my phone and went on Amazon to see if there was a collected version of this. And if they had it, I was going to buy it. So that's got to be a solid 11. They didn't have it, by the way. Sad story. I don't know if it's collected anywhere. Alan would probably know best, but he can answer that in a second. 11. Very, very solid 11. I like this.
Thanks. And I have long said I'd love to edit collections of these because they aren't reprinted in modern stuff. And both the DC and the ones from the other publishers, I think, would make a great collection. DC could do an omnibus with Robin Hood tales and the Brave and the Bold issues, and that would bring it up to omnibus size. And I'd love to see that. And I guess just one last recommendation. Yeah, I think the stories are fun. It was tough picking one issue because I think this is the one where I thought all the stories really clicked for me. There's a fun one where Robin Hood is appointed sheriff for the day. And, that's one where he works around the rules. There's one where he's not allowed to step foot on English soil until he does something. So he finds ways to swing in trees and roll out a carpet and run on that and things to a lot of fun stories. But I felt this issue had a lot of the charm. So I'm glad you enjoy it. I hope that you'll someday see a collection of them because I'd love that.
Well, folks, we told you that we got the guy that knows all things Robin Hood, and we weren't kidding. That will wrap up day 6 of the 12 Days of Crusademas. We'd love to hear from you if you're familiar with any of the comics we cover here on the show, or if you gave one of our recommendations a try. Let us know what you think about it. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, all at Longbox Crusade. You can email us at contact@longboxcrusade.com, or you can leave a message on the old telephone at 707-532-5269. That's 707-532-LBOX.
Pick up the Christmas phone.
And if you're jingle. And if you're loving Crusademas and didn't get a chance to listen last year, or just want to hear more Crusademas, if you scroll far enough back in our feed, you can find all the episodes from the Ghosts of Crusademas Past, 2022, 2021, 2020, 2019, 2018, or even 2017. That one's a little dicey. We're still getting our feet under us on that one. But, if you're a completionist, give it a listen.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Be sure to come back tomorrow to find out what the next gift is from under the tree here at the festively decorated Longbox Crusade Studios. Thanks for having me, fellas, and happy holidays, and please rob from the rich and give to the poor. Until next time, DJ Christados, play me a Christmas jam.
Wickedy, 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 twang!
All songs, song clips, and characters discussed are copyright of their respective copyright holders, and no infringement is intended. We are just fans that like to share our love of comics.
Outtakes.
I liked, I was listening to our latest New Warriors that was released as podcast today, and I said something like, eventually they're all going to figure out all our podcasts are just a series of bits stitched together. And I was like, shh, don't tell them. Because we've been doing this for 6 years.
I've heard this joke before. No, you haven't. It's new.
Debaish.
So you don't sing the rest of the song leading up to it, do you? We just do the 6 Robin's Hoodin?
That's it. You just got to, put a little.
Give him a little
in it.
taste, Jason.
Well,
6 Robin's Hooding, something like that. All right, Ellen. Here we go. We're going to go in 3, 2, 1. Your list.
Oh, you meant I wasn't supposed to go. Yes. Okay, let's do that again.
It's all right. We'll fix it in post. I got to edit this. No.
What are you talking about, Jared? I'm a G-damn delight to edit.
Delvin,
You were awesome on Crusademas Day 2, let me tell you.
I wasn't there, huh?
Exactly. You weren't there.